And we're live.
Welcome to another Scruffy City Aquatics live stream on a Tuesday night. Thank you, everyone who is already here, and those of you who are watching on the replay. Thank you for checking this out. We really do appreciate it, and yeah, it's great to be back. What's up, Tanner?
It is great to be back. Just happy to be here, making it 2 weeks in a row. We're just trying to, piece together a streak again. But
Yeah,
it's good to be back. Like Mitch said, shout out to the replay crew, the ones who are probably catching most of the intro. So we appreciate
right.
y'all. Love seeing y'all watch the stream. If you have any questions or just want to say, hey, I'm on the replay crew, watch this video, go ahead and leave a comment. We do appreciate those.
Yeah, I am trying to load the stuff from last 2 weeks so that we have it. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's not supposed to come up. I did not tell it to do that. Oh well, I guess I should have it loaded in earlier. That
Got a
might put a
couple
little bribe
people
on me.
already here. Looks like Keeping is going to miss the stream
Oh
due to a
no!
graduation. It is that
Oh
time of the year. I had a
yeah,
graduation to go to this past weekend, so I know it's happening for everybody. That all the craziness.
yep.
So
I didn't have any to go to this year.
that is lucky. I had a almost a 6 hour drive to North Carolina this
Ooh.
weekend, so that was a lot of driving.
Yeah,
But
that'd be fun though.
oh yeah, no, it was good seeing family and
Yeah.
catching up and hanging out. We've got Fish Time with Lando
What's up,
in the
Lando?
chat.
Lando says he's ordered some merch.
Oh, what
I
did
think that I think he's talking about like my merch, the uh, Algae Happens or Scruffy City Aquatics. So
oh yeah,
thanks,
that is
Lando.
an awesome shirt. Yeah, thanks for supporting Scruffy City Aquatics.
Yeah, I really appreciate
And
that. It
let's
helps
see,
out.
got Coro Works as well. Gonna have to catch the replay. Thanks for stopping by and saying hey.
Jimmy P said he was going to have to catch the
Oh,
replay as well.
I oh yep, there's Jimmy P. Hope y'all are all doing well.
Yeah. So long week already. I had a busy week with my tanks this past weekend. Just water changes and getting things set up and ready, and um, trying to work out what I want to do with the micro pond this year. The irises are growing crazy. They're I
Yeah.
did not think it would grow that large in that little tub. Like how tall the it is and how many flowers. I mean, it's got a dozen or more flowers on it. It's
Oh
just
wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents have a pond in their backyard that has iris in it, and we have to pull out. I mean, probably 15 to 20 plants,
Wow.
to keep the water, to keep it a pond and not just a marsh, because those
Yeah.
iris grow like crazy.
Now these they're still in the pot or in the planter.
Hmm.
And they don't really have anywhere to go in the micro pond, so I'm not sure how that will work. We'll
You
see.
can also, depending on the type of iris, you can plant those in your yard.
Yeah, I know a lot of irises are terrestrial. I don't know about
Hmm.
these. I'll have to look into it. I'd like to add another plant to it this year, but I'll probably so I, June is just crazy. So I'm not
Hmm.
going to have time for the micro pond in June. I'm not going to do anything different with it. I'm not going to move any fish out there this month or next month. Maybe the end of next month. Um, then again, I'll probably end up with mosquitoes if I don't put something out there, won't I?
Yeah,
Um,
could let those
yeah,
mosquito larvae build up a little bit, then hit it with some fish, so you got some food.
I wonder how long it takes them to mature. Mosquito larvae. Like,
Let's
what's your
find out.
window that you have? You and your Google over there.
Mosquito larvae life cycle. Yeah, Google is incredible. So up to 2 weeks
Okay,
is average according to the EPA, and then depending on conditions, it can range from 4 days to as long as a month.
so I can wait till I get back. That's what I really needed to know
Mhm.
is once I'm spending more time at home and not away. Um, we've our work at work. We've got some construction going on at the building starting next month, so we're going back home until
Oh,
probably October or so. So once I'm working from home again, hey, bring on the Cory eggs. We're going to raise some more Cory fry.
yeah. You'll probably see you're like, huh, I didn't realize these Corys were laying every single day, just
Yeah,
getting
well,
eaten up.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've not been able to catch them. I've seen some remnants,
Mhm.
um, so, but being gone with work and everything, just not been here to catch them. Muppet 929 is here. Welcome, Muppet 929. Good to
Yeah.
see you.
Welcome, welcome. You can also those mosquito dunks
Yeah.
are supposed to be non-toxic to fish and everything, so you could use those.
Have you ever used one?
We have in the pond before.
They make a mess.
They kind
At
of
least they
do.
did in my 5 gallon bucket, and I just don't have enough space. It makes a mess, I think.
Yeah.
There's something else that, and I need to ask him. Curtis uses something other than the dunks. Can't
Yeah,
remember what it is.
Curtis would probably be the go-to for that type of stuff. He's the
Yeah, he's got.
pond master.
Yeah, he's got them all over his work. He has to keep the mosquitoes down for sure. Regina Phalanges is here, and Nancy
Yeah.
B. Oh, and Zen Ginger. Welcome,
And
everybody.
Zenny, welcome Regina, welcome Nancy B. Nancy B shared a picture. I believe it was Nancy that shared a picture of her pond or patio pond
Oh yeah,
today with some rice fish eggs. Is that am I thinking correctly?
was that over on MCAS?
Yeah, I've kind of taken some of the ideas of your ideas for the Tank Tuesday and those kind of interactive posts for the club page. I need to start giving credits to Mitch
For what? What was that?
for all the Tank Tuesday and the
Oh,
motivational Mondays because I see
well,
you post them and I was like, oh hey, I forgot to do that.
I have seen them on MCAS before, and it reminded me as well. As a matter of fact, you just reminded me. I still haven't changed the banner for the ETA
Uh
this month.
oh,
Oh
looks like
man,
we've got Rico Stan and Fish Fam Link has also joined in. Thanks
what's up,
for
Rico
if
Stan?
Yeah, hope you're doing well. And then if you are needing any resources for fish YouTube content creation, go check out Fish Fam Link. They do a fantastic job of cultivating and growing the community. So definitely shout out to Fish Fam. Is it fishfam.link?
It is. It's dot.
Okay.
If you're going, I mean, you could search Fish Fam
Hmm.
link and probably get there. But if you're going to just type it into the address bar, fishfam.link will take you directly there with no problems whatsoever. And it is a great resource. I use it all the time. I'm glad to have it, and we can all support it, and it'll be there for us. A lot of people working on it. I know
Yeah.
Matt's the one that like built it, but I think he's got a team of volunteers who are working on it. Um, but yeah, it's a great site.
Oh, and there's Zenny with the helpful link as always. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's a good time to thank our mods, those of you
Yes.
who are here. And also, I set up, I think it shows up, I set up another one. So thank you for that. Always, I want to, want to say with the mods, it's never expected that you do anything, but I know some of you do mod another live stream, so I want to give you the ability to, so that you can help out if you so desire, but not expected of you. Rico Stan says it looks like you've got some large sassy earrings with your earbuds, your
I
Apple
know
Pods.
that's what I got my sassy Rico is liking my sassy earrings.
Yeah, looks good.
Nancy, were they
Uh,
the blue Miyuki rice fish that you had that are you're getting eggs from?
wasn't she talking about them last week?
Yeah, I think I just relooked them. I found them in my search history. The blue Miyuki is I think is what
Yeah,
she's got. Those are some stunning fish.
sassy.
I'm
So I
feeling
know
a
what's been
little
going on with your
sassy.
tanks. Are you going to share what's going on with your tanks?
I guess so. So, getting ready to move within the next several weeks. So, where I'm currently sitting used to be a tank. I sold that one off. Gonna consolidate a little bit, and then once we get moved, I'm hoping to expand quite a bit. I was talking with Mitch. I'm hopefully going to do quite a few 10 gallons and 20 longs, and just try and get a lot of those fish I've been wanting to keep, and a lot of the fish I've gotten community tanks that I'm wanting to breed, but they
Mhm.
need their own dedicated tank. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, the rack of 20s is still very tempting to me because I would like to be breeding these swordtails out. My
Yeah.
swordtails are looking awesome, and I've got so many fry in there. And I've started to plot. I need to get rid of some of the males. I've got so many males popping up. Uh, Take them, and I won't be at the club at all this month, so I may take them to one of the stores uh, because I will be out of town for the meeting. The
Hmm.
ETA will have Ben Ochart as our guest
Yeah.
speaker. Looking forward to that. He's going to be talking about keeping fish healthy and enjoying the hobby. So it should be a great talk.
Oh yeah, that'll be a real good one. I'm looking. Ben is also planning to come speak at Music City in, I believe it's September.
Okay.
So look, do not know the topic yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I love watching his videos.
Yeah, it's relaxing for me to listen to him. I enjoy it. He's the one that I came across his channel because I was considering a cheap canister filter because I only wanted to put sponge and polishing pads in it
Hmm.
to help keep the 75's water a little clearer than I was able to get it with the sponge filters. And so I was considering it, but I'd never heard of the brand, never seen Sun Sun. I don't know if I said that's what it was. And when I started searching for it, Ben's channel was the one that came up, and he had multiple videos talking about them and how he'd had a lot of success with them and kind of explaining where the issues often lie and how to prevent it. And so I have kept mine up. Actually, it's one of the things I did this weekend. I cleaned the canister filter. Um, I think it was close to a year since I had cleaned it. My wife says I have cleaned it once since last spring, but I don't remember when it was. Um, so it finally got cleaned, and I had a lot of chocolate water to spread around in the landscape. So that was really cool. Regina Phalange says your Corys look so good and happy. They are happy.
Yeah.
I've got a short video that I've got to get put together. I had one Sturbe Corridora that survived out of three that I got not too long ago. And he or she were in a 10-gallon for a while by themselves in quarantine because the others passed so early on. And I did move him this week or last week. It was right before. It was just before last week's live stream. I talked about it in the last live stream.
Hmm.
But he has been so fun to watch because he was always just hiding in the back of that little tank, and now he is all over the place, and so it's a lot of fun. But all of the Corys, they do tend to, you know, I like keeping separate schools because I like having the same species together, but they do tend to hang out all together. It's pretty cool to see them all. Now that I think I have four Sturbe now. Now that there's four of them, I do often find them off on their own, but all of them still hang out together. And there's still some peppered in there that we've had for years. I don't know how old those fish are. I need to look it up. I've got it all written down somewhere where I added them, so I know when I added them anyway.
I've also got Dee Dee's Finned in the chat.
Yeah,
Hey Dee Dee,
yeah.
hope
I
you're
saw that
doing well.
you was sorry. I saw that you received that email. I will take a look at that and get back with you. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, the swordtails are looking good. Something, and I should have taken a picture of it, and I don't know why I didn't. You, Tanner, you and I have talked about it. I picked up some. I don't think they're over here. I picked up some hobby related, some fish related books at the used
Hmm.
bookstore this weekend. this past weekend. And one of the books that I thought about getting was a book on freshwater species, and it had swordtails that looked like my swordtails.
Oh,
So it looked like what I was told were pineapple, but with the spots. So like it looks just like my swordtails. So I'm wondering, I don't think that book's going to have a hybrid species on the cover. I'm wondering if I actually do have some species of fish that maybe I'm just not privy to. Don't know.
yeah, it could be. We could also. I don't know if you've sent maybe. Oh, I think I see one down in the corner.
Well, now that is one
Or
of the new ones that I added.
okay.
But the one underneath it is actually one of them. But those babies don't have spots. That one is
Huh.
just maturing. Um, what are those? I can't. It's a South American
This is
um,
the Montezuma.
Montezuma. Thank you. I was like, it starts with an M. But yeah, there's up in the Anubias. There's one. When the big ones come around, and they're probably swimming a little higher. There's one of those random mollies I still have. Um, but they typically stay a little higher than I have this video set at. I really wanted to capture the Corys because I saw they were very active.
Yeah, they're looking really good. Also got Stephen White from Sevilla, Spain.
There's one moving
So
into the middle right now, and it has the spots, but we're kind of far away.
okay, is it? Did it just move to the right?
It's down on the bottom right. Yeah,
Okay, I see it. Yeah,
there's one
I'm
up at the
not
top
sure.
right now.
Maybe John may know. He's a
Yeah,
pretty
I should ask John.
knowledgeable swordtail guy. We've also got Yellowstone Aquatics. Thanks for joining us.
I was
Nancy
really
B is
surprised to
saying
see that though.
the tank looks really good, Mitch. It does look good.
Thanks, Nancy B. I there's actually a lot of light in that room. I should have adjusted it so it's kind of messing it up a little bit, but it does look good. So that's got me wondering: should I remove those Montezumas so that they don't hybridize? I thought I had pineapples that were already hybridized with Montezumas, but
Mm.
I mean, like I've seen pineapples online. Since I because when I was looking them up, when I was researching them, I saw them online, and mine don't look exactly like them, but they look identical to that book. And had it not been, it was a used book. It was a small book. It wasn't in great condition, but it was $10. And I was like, I don't know that I'm willing to pay $10 for that, but it's got my fish on the cover. So I probably should have, at least for nothing else, just to kind of see what it is. Kind of looks like a Showa swordtail or a hybrid. I've been told they're a hybrid. So
Showa swordtail. I've not heard of that.
yeah,
Let me
me neither.
give it a Google. Okay.
No,
I don't think it's those. Those almost look like a koi,
like a koi.
like
Yeah.
a koi swordtail.
Yeah, those are very cool though. I would
They
like some
are.
of those. I've got a picture in here somewhere, I'm sure. Not that I'm just going to search for it. No, I wouldn't do that.
Silver Creek Aquatics, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, Silver Creek's good to see you. All right, so you're getting rid of some tanks, downsizing a little bit, but it's a good thing. You're going to end up with more tanks later, smaller tanks. And I
Yeah,
think that's cool. I like the nano tank. I honestly, as much as I enjoy the 75, I think I would enjoy 320s more.
yeah. You can just keep completely different environments, types of tanks. I think the plan right now is the 40 that's kind of my display tank is gonna stay. The 55 is gonna stay, and then other than that, I'm gonna do 10s and 20s. I've got
Mhm.
those Apisto Borellis or Borellii, however you want to say it. I've got 5 of those, and I'm thinking about doing a 20 long in kind of a
Yeah.
dark, black water botanical style scape. I haven't done one of those before, and I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, that'll be good. I like the idea of having the 20-gallon in the house has really made the hobby a little more fun. Just
Mhm.
having options of things to work on. Um, and I really need to get my arms wet with that tank, and get those stem plants back in. But I've just figured if they're going to float, I'll let them float and get some roots on them and try to put them back in.
Yeah.
It's still doing well with algae. Very little algae has popped up in that tank, and the parameters have been perfect. I've never had an issue with it, so it's really good. Um,
Awesome.
just and I didn't use anything out of a bottle. Just used stuff that I already had around the house. Made sure I used some decorations and things, um, to get that one started.
One thing I'm really excited about is I've kind of held off on doing any projects with the tanks and just kind of maintained them just because I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't want to redo a tank and then break it down a month later. So, kind of been getting not necessarily stale, but a little bit stagnant. I guess same difference. A little stagnant in
right.
the hobby and kind of wanting for something different. And
Yeah,
this will be the chance to completely reset almost. Besides a few fish and all my plants.
yeah. I don't know if you saw or if anyone else saw, but Dan's Fish is going to be giving away. Oh my, this is not liking what I'm doing. Um, Dan's Fish is going to be giving away some orange Venezuelan cories this week. Tomorrow, actually.
Oh, are they really?
Yes, tomorrow during the live
Ooh.
stream, 9 p.m. There's a little bit of a promotion. I don't know why I did that. I want them. Why did I tell you all? Um, No, I like Dan's live streams. Is a lot of knowledge of the species that he takes time to talk about and to answer questions. So it's really cool. I like that. I'm looking because I know I've got one of these on a thumbnail somewhere. So I was trying to find an image, but anyway, we won't do that. Let's go to lighting.
Yeah, we should probably on attempt number 3 try and hit this aquarium lighting topic.
Yeah, so we decided we were going to do like a long series of live streams where we just kind of talk about buying an aquarium. And we've talked about why you shouldn't, we've talked about what you need, we've talked about what you need to consider. And so now we're kind of talking about some of the components of the aquarium. And the next subject that we are to is lighting. And we have
Yeah.
attempted to do the lighting talk a few times, and we've just had a few audibles called on the live stream, and then last week we were having fun chatting, and
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm glad we did that and just had a good time on the live stream, and didn't try to run through the information all at
Mhm.
once, there at the end in the last 10 minutes or so when we realized we were running out of time. But I'm trying to keep my head down so that I don't get the reflection of my glasses because it drives me crazy. I can't imagine it bothers others. Um, but yeah, so this is, so you're going to buy an aquarium. This is part 6, the third attempt. And let's talk lights. And
Yeah.
Tanner's got some information here. I have, I have purchased lights on a few occasions. I've always been a budget light customer. I know there's some really great lights out there that you could put a lot of money into. I've just never had that amount of money to spend on the hobby at one time. Other than the tank, I mean, like the tank was the biggest purchase, but a big light for it is almost as expensive as the tank. But
Yes.
there are other options out there from those expensive lights that do a good job, and if you
Hmm.
have the money, are probably worth it. No lie. I know you've got a really great light that cost a pretty penny, but it's
Yes.
your favorite light, and you've told us that a few times. But then you
Hmm.
can also, like, we have people in the club who use Walmart's Tough. I can't remember the name brand, but Walmart's name brand of shop light on their
Yeah.
aquariums and their growing plants.
Oh yeah.
So, you can definitely do it on a budget. I will say that for me, I feel like light that has been designed for an aquarium does a better job of spread, because it was
Mhm.
designed to spread across an aquarium, as well as maybe color. And I feel like in my life I have too much blue light. It's one of the things I hate about going to the office is just how much blue and white light there is. In my house, I keep warm lights
Mhm.
in the majority of my house. I think our laundry room and maybe the kitchen are a little bit different color, but everything else is a very warm tone. There's that beautiful male. Oh man, let's see
Yeah,
if I can
he's
get him up there.
stunning.
And that looks exactly like the fish that was on that cover. But anyway, I last week we were talking about I added the co-op light, which Aquarium Co-op did send to me. But I added the Aquarium Co-op light to the 75, and when I first put it on, I was like, "Oh, I don't know that I like the color," and it really took me a moment. And I went and I and it's in the video, which I haven't gotten out yet, but it's in the video where I go back and forth looking at the different colors and like, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh no, I don't know that I like that. And then, I turned the night crew back on and I was like, okay, that's what I'm used to. And then I turned the co-op light back on. And I repositioned them too to make sure they were in the right spot. And I was like, oh, it doesn't look as bad as I thought. And then I switched it again. And on that third time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it on for a little while and just see how I like it. And the next day, I made sure I was working from, let's see, within a couple of days, I was working from home, and I made sure to take my break around the time that the light was going to come on. And I realized it doesn't bother me at all. It was a little jarring at first, the color difference, but I really genuinely love the color that it is now. It's not as yellow as I thought it was.
Mhm.
I really, really thought it was way too yellow when I first turned it on. But looking at it right now, I mean, just it's across the room from me. It's not it's beautiful color. I love it, but you don't always get that with a shop light. So yes, you can grow plants, but you are going to get a different color. See, I'm going to have Cory eggs. Do you see that? Um,
Yep.
they you will get a different color with some of those shop lights and things like that. So, just know that, the money does buy you something, but you can do it on a budget too.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to preface the whole lighting talk with look at your tank, or if you're planning to get a tank, what are your goals for the tank? Do you want just to keep fish? Do you
Hmm.
want a planted tank, a high maintenance planted tank, low maintenance, high tech? With the more difficult experience level plants, it really will determine what type of light you want. Do you want to keep a lot of red plants? It really that just determines kind of the course you go, because you don't really need, if you're just wanting to keep fish, the only purpose a light serves is just to show the fish so you can see the
Hmm.
fish. You don't technically need a light on an aquarium.
Right.
So just
The
go,
fish don't need the light.
go into this, kind of conversation with that mindset of what do I want, what do I want the end product to look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can
Nancy B.
spend
Oh,
$10, $20, just like Silver Creek saying, you can go to Harbor
yeah.
Freight, Amazon, some of the grow lights. They work well. I've used them before. Or you
Yep.
can spend $300, $400 on a light and get all the bells and whistles. It really depends on what works for you.
Yeah. And I'm not saying all the shop lights have a bad color because they don't. I mean, some of the ones in our club that I've seen, I could definitely live with for $20. I'd be happy to have
Yeah.
them. And I've considered them. And you can, I think he mentioned that you can chain them together, which
Mhm.
was, a plus when I was thinking about doing that rack of 20s. Uh, Nancy B pointed out that Dan's had some fancy swordtails recently. He has.
Ooh.
They were really cool. He gave some away last week, and really cool fish. One of my local stores has red vampire swordtails, I believe is what they are.
Oh,
They're like
yeah, I've seen those.
$89 each.
Yes, they're very expensive.
Why?
I honestly, I don't know exactly why.
Yeah, they still
I'm
have a
I'm
lot of them.
I'm scrolling through Dan's fish right now. He has the Hamburg high fin swordtail.
Yeah.
A pair of them are 150.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Then
And
he
then the
says,
albino pineapple hyphen Veltail swordtail pair, $300.
yeah, a pair. Yeah.
Whoo!
Yeah. Regina, or sorry, Zenny says, she's speaking to Regina, koi and goldies are definitely my favorite fish. Yeah, it's cool. Those were great looking fish. And Nancy B says it's a long series of talking about lighting. Yeah. This is a great question, Stephen White. I've been asked this a few times. So I got the fish in October, and I had my first fry probably within a couple of weeks. They were young when I got them, about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks after I got them. And so I just recently started seeing swordtails. So we're talking between it was probably into November. So December, January, February, March, April. That's a long time. I really don't understand how long it took. But I need to keep better records of it. But I've had a lot of fry, but I've just started to see swords. Now I know that if you have some really big males in the tank, the smaller males will kind of stay hidden because the larger males will pick on them. So they try
Yeah.
to fly under the radar and not get noticed. And that big male that was on the screen just a little while ago, I thought that was a female for the longest time. I had two females and one male of that type of fish, and then one day, one of the females just started showing that it was growing a sword, and the fins that I'm going to get wrong if I try to say the name. They changed. They had changed shape, and it's not that they changed shape. They were holding it differently. They start
Hmm.
holding the fin differently, and so all of a sudden I had two males in there and one female, and that's no good. So that was where the Montezumas came from. They got added because I thought these were already hybrids, and maybe they are. They might be. All of that to say, I don't really know with these, and it is something that I've looked up, and it's typically not very long, like a month.
Yeah, I was thinking about a month. Kind of almost similar timeline to where you can start sexing guppies,
Yeah, yeah,
platies. Although they grow, live bears grow pretty quick.
yeah.
Um,
Well, this is 6 weeks and about 2 months. So that's still they were really hiding on me.
but
But
so
I do have some large males in there, and which is why I would like to have a breeding rack so that I could separate those males and get some, kind of breed out those fish a little bit more, get a stronger line going.
mhm.
But I just don't have the space for it right now. Happy Corey's. Um,
So
Talking about
on
pricey live bears. I was just trying to
uh,
catch up with the chat, and and it jumped on me. All of a sudden, there's a bunch more. Amazon Barina, a pinkish white spectrum, and actual choice are amazing for tanks. Okay, that's cool. Um, Ludwigia, Ratala, and Crips. I like having a little bit of red on my Crips. Makes them look good. Make
yes,
sure
it
you're looking
does.
at red and white spectrum shop lights or grow lights, and that's it. If you're doing plants, you do want grow lights. Is Amisa here? Welcome, Amisa.
Yes, grow. You do want that plant growth light spectrum, which I've got a slide on. We'll get to in a little bit, but spectrum definitely matters.
Hmm.
There are a multitude of wavelengths that plants just don't really use, and well, the more sophisticated plants, algae can use quite a few different. More opportunistic with the light spectrum.
Yeah,
So if you've got a lot of, a spectrum that plants don't necessarily use, and you're going to end up with you may end up with some algae.
yeah, because the
But
algae is able to use that light, even though the
yes,
plants won't. Mystery Snail Guardians is here. Welcome. Says I'm traveling from Washington to the Clash. Have you already left for the
oh,
Clash?
That's a. Are you
That is a
walking?
trip. Yeah. It's in September, right? I think that's right.
Yeah, it's like the third week in September, I think. I may be wrong though. Someone probably knows.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
it's like 23rd or something, but I could be wrong. Jeff Kane is here. Welcome, Jeff
yeah,
Kane.
Jeff Kane. We've also got the Nano Aquarium guy. Saw him in earlier.
What's up,
Good to
Nano?
see you. And I think that might catch us up on people joining.
Silver Creek says, and the spectrums that aren't so great for fish, and that's true. There are some spectrums that don't look as great on fish, and that was one of the things about adding a new light. So the clash is September 22nd through the 24th. That was one of the things that I was worried about because on one of the reviews on the co-op light, they did talk about how they felt like it canceled out some of the blue on one of their fish, and so they said the light's great, good build. I would love to use it, but because of this, I'm sending it back, and they sent it back. Um, and so I was like, oh man, I love the little bit of blue that comes off of the green cories, and then
Mhm.
also those pineapples, the pineapple hybrids. I'm going to call them that until somebody can tell me what they actually are. Um, but there's a little bit of a blue iridescent on them, and I was like, oh man, I hope I don't lose that, and I didn't. They're still there. That line of guppies that's in that tank too also has a little bit of a blue sheen to them, but it's done well with those. So anyway, you were saying about lighting.
Yeah. Okay. So
Let
basics
me
of
know when you
lighting.
want. Let me know when you want to slide up.
Yeah, we could go ahead and pull those up.
Slide number one.
Yeah. So this is a couple slides from the plant talk that I've given at some clubs. But LEDs typically going to be your most common. You can. They're still the T5 bulbs that a lot of people swear by. I've used them before; they work, but I just
I
prefer
don't
LED.
hear. I was just gonna say I don't hear many people talking about them anymore online. When I
Yeah.
first got in the hobby about 10 years ago, they were still pretty
Mhm.
prevalent. LEDs, I think, were just starting to dip into the price range where they were more
Mhm.
affordable.
Yeah, LEDs in the last 10, 15 years have made massive strides in improvements on the hobby just because they are a lot more cost effective. They work a lot. They use less energy.
Mhm.
They are,
Produce
in
more
my
light.
opinion, yeah, produce more light. They produce better light, in my opinion. Um, but so that's typically what you're going to see if you walk into an aquarium store. You're going to see LED lights.
Mhm.
Some stores may still have some of the T5s. I don't really know of anywhere that's going to be carrying the metal halides.
Yeah.
Those just put off. You're going to heat your whole house with those. Um, but a couple general, the basics of lighting for an aquarium. Water takes out a massive amount of light versus air. So the deeper your tank, if it's 12 inches, it's going to need less light than an 18-inch deep tank. It's just the water column takes out quite a bit of light, so that's something to take into account. If you have a shallower tank, you can get away with less lighting.
Right.
And also spectrums, as Jeff Kane was mentioning, water depth has a impact on what light spectrums, what wavelengths of light can pass through. The reason you see reef tanks all the time with the blue actinic light is because that blue wavelength of light penetrates the furthest in water. Red is going to penetrate through the water column the least. I think it's you lose in the first 5 feet, 6 feet, you lose like 60% of the red spectrum. That's why you're not going to have red plants down, real deep. Most of the time in the wild, those are found in shallow areas, just because that red light does not penetrate as far as your blue or even your greens.
Mhm.
With lighting, with aquarium lighting, especially, most of this is going to be pointed towards plants, just because that's how I keep all my tanks have plants in them. You're going to want a full spectrum light, your reds, your greens, and your blues. That's primarily the wavelengths that your plants will use,
Mhm.
and really kind of that purplish wavelength, that kind of red blue mixture is really, I believe, what's optimal for plant growth. Not the most aesthetically pleasing. So I choose to, kind of balance that out more so. I generally go, if you have a customizable light, I do higher amounts of red lighting just because it brings out, the reds in your plants. But so you want a full spectrum light. That's going to get the best plant growth versus, just the white, 65, was it 6,500 Kelvin light.
Yeah, and just to add to you talking about, we're generally talking about planted lights, and that's because the science really is necessary for the planted light and not for, if you've just got a tank and you've got plastic, decorations, the big thing you want is a light that's not going to cause you algae. And that really is just, limit the amount of light you have, keep your nitrates low. But if you have plants, that changes because you can allow your nitrates to creep up some and you can have your lights on longer. So plants are better for things like that. But that's why there's really not a lot to say about a light for a tank that does not have plants. I mean, of course, neither one of us currently are keeping saltwater tanks. I've never had a saltwater tank. And things are a little bit different there. You've brought up some of it already, but really with the planted tank is what we're going to focus on because that's where people are really shopping for a light and looking at, the Fluval 3.0 or, Higher's planted, or maybe the Nycrew Plus planted, or the Co-op light. There's a lot of lights out there for planted tanks. But if you're doing a non-planted tank, then you really are just trying to find something that gives you a look that you like and doesn't produce algae.
Yes, definitely. And one thing that, speaking, the whole algae and light intensity, it is extremely difficult for, the common person. You can't look at a light and eyeball it and say, oh yeah, that's bright. What does bright mean? It's a very subjective statement because I can be outside and my phone screen barely see the phone screen. I go inside in the dark and my phone screen is, blinding me. So it's very hard to gauge how intense a light is just by looking at it. The old way of doing it was, you'd have lumens per gallon or watts per gallon. And those were some decent metrics. But with the advent of LEDs, which are a lot more efficient, that watts per gallon is not really accurate. It's a ballpark measurement. It's kind of always been a ballpark measurement. But the true way to measure intensity of lighting is PAR, which is photosynthetic active radiation. That's the amount of actual light that is contributing to photosynthesis. So you want to, in PAR meters are expensive. The average person is not going to have one. Some clubs may potentially have a PAR meter that you can rent. Some stores may have that.
And they're also, they're a lot of work because you got to calibrate them and things like that, right? Like they don't come, you don't take it out of a box and use it. You have to set it, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a, fairly sensitive, depending on how, nice of a model you get, it's a fairly sensitive measuring instrument. So the 2 Hour Aquarist has a very good article on their website about PAR and what PAR means. A lot of times with the bigger manufacturers, you can actually look up PAR readings and it'll show, at 6 inches PAR reading is this, 12 inches this. So you can get an idea, and there you can break down what level of PAR, what that means for, low light plants, medium light, high light. There's PAR ranges for that.
Yeah. Welcome to Sketty Nana and also Geek Boy. And I saw one more, M&C Aquatics. I wanted to point this out too. M&C Aquatics, I guess I'm old school. I use T5 shop lights on twisty bulbs on all 34 tanks. Again, I use underground filter box and sponge filters too. Hey, like we said, there's not anything wrong with it. They worked, right? They worked in the hobby. And if you have them, use them for sure. But for someone just getting into the hobby, it's probably something that's a little harder to use now because it'd be harder to find it. at least the setups and everything. So most people getting into the hobby are probably going to be looking at LEDs, or even if you were to go and upgrade, you might end up trying out an LED. But those absolutely do work. It's just we're to a point where LEDs are a little stronger. They're not using as much power, which we're all paying a lot of money for power right now. So using a little less power is good. And then the price point on the light itself has come down considerably. And you're not replacing them. You eventually have to replace an LED, but I don't know exactly how long one lasts now. I've never had one go out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. They definitely can dull over time, dim a little
They
bit.
do. Yeah.
But T5s you're going to have, you're going to want to replace them probably every year. But you can get some extremely good plant growth out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may have been Tom Barr that used T5s for quite a while as well, or one of the big contributors on that forum. And then Silver Creek's got, what did they say?
Is this
But
about
isn't
the every plant is different?
I saw that. I'm more referring to, but isn't par compared to the sun, and no LED will compare to that, making it basically just a parlor trick. I like the maybe unintentional pun snuck in there. So yeah, as far as I understand par, and this, I'm just reading this. I looked up the 2 Hour Aquarist link that I mentioned and that Zenny sent in there. It basically measures the number of photons that are in that photosynthetic wavelength range. So par, I believe the sunlight is another measurement that can be used, for direct, or par is a measurement that can be used with sunlight, but the par output by the sun would be much higher than your LEDs. So it's on the same, measured by the same metric, but just different scales as far as I understand. And I may be incorrect on some of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what par is, and I know how you find out your par, and I know that it's a better tool for understanding where a light would rank, but I don't know a great deal about the science of the I guess the radiation and all that behind it.
Yeah, that's something. Lighting is a very in-depth and complicated
Mm-hmm.
topic, but it basically measures between that 400 to 700 um, nanometer range, which is the tail end of the blue spectrum, and then all the way through your yellow, your green, your yellow, and your red. So it measures the photons emitted in that wavelength.
Yeah.
Let's see, but it doesn't. It doesn't determine the amount of blue, green, or red or yellow.
Correct.
It
That's your
just
spectrum.
determines the total amount.
Yeah. And
Another
Silver
term
Creek
for it
says,
is the photosynthetic photon flux density. Um, so
"What
that's
did you say?"
the photosynthetic photon flux density
Yeah.
is another, I guess, synonym for par.
Yeah. Silver Creek says, I see par meters like a TDS meter, meh, but I'm still studying it. And yeah, that's the case. I mean, for most of us, a par meter is not going to be all that handy.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it would be nice if there was an industry standard on the products where the lights, they had to put a par, maybe, like maybe there's a level, like the industry had a level of par, like, a level 5 is this amount of par at this
Mm-hmm.
depth. So hey, I need a 5 for my 55 gallon, and then a level 1 is going to be something that you would put on a much smaller tank, and you would have a decent par meter, in your 3 gallon tank or something like that would be helpful to have.
Yes.
I know I've heard the co-op talk about how they're doing research on their light to try to provide a spreadsheet with the par on different
Yeah.
depths and everything, and all that's handy, but I don't know that it is completely necessary. It's like people who aren't keeping salt water who are using TDS meter. There's so many, that TDS meter's measuring different things that you might not even need to know. So I don't know that, for someone who's looking at a light, we're not saying go out and buy a par meter or go find someone who has
Yeah.
it, invite them over for a steak dinner. Although that's probably going to be a good time, and you're going to learn a lot about fish if they have a par meter. Um, but
Yeah. I
that's
don't
just how
have
it's
a par
measured.
meter.
No,
I don't have one. I don't see. I would like to measure, par. That
yeah,
would be cool. But I have not done that before. Something that's interesting that I know. I've got a book. I think it's called Sunken Gardens. It basically is aquascaping and plants and all that. They talk
mhm,
about how a lot of the people who go out, they'll go out and see where some of these plants grow in the wild and take par measurements to see
yeah,
what type of light they're getting in that native environment to try and somewhat replicate it within an aquarium.
yeah. MNC Aquatics was talking about his T bulbs. I replaced mine over 5 years. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is. Nancy B says this is parkour. I'm liking the puns tonight.
You're
Y'all are
punny
crushing it.
tonight. Very punny.
Oh, the
Then he
Nano
says,
Aquarium guy. So it has a flux capacitor. If it gets 80 miles, will I travel to 1985?
yes, yes. As long as you have your Mr. Fusion full of beer. And bananas. What all did he pour in there? The par radiation is still the relevant strength for plant growth, and the different spectrums matter, especially when water refraction comes into play.
Hmm.
All true.
Definitely.
It's and there's a lot of variable, and that is really the case with our hobby across the board. There's a lot of variables. I mean, people are all the time wanting to know, hey, is this, what's the best light? Well, what's the best light for you is relative. I mean, it's
Exactly.
not necessarily the best light for me might not be the best light for you. I may have a totally different taste in in
Hmm.
color. Like I may want my fish to look a certain way. I may have certain plants that are going to require it, or someone I don't have a lot of plants like hair grass, so I don't need that strength of light down on the surface of my tank. You might. So there's
Hmm.
and then also talking about the refraction of the light through the water, the depth of your tank is going to be, there's so many
Yes.
factors involved in it. So doing your research is important. It'd be nice if the companies selling these lights would provide a little more information rather than just, a lot of times you see a par number. When you see a par number, and when you get to looking at it, that was measured in like 6 inches of air and no water. It's like that's not
Exactly.
very useful.
So it's drastically different. Um, yeah. So covered how to measure intensity, or at least try to. I would recommend reading through that 2 hour Aquarist blog post that Zenny linked. It's a great read to get a basic background knowledge.
Mhm.
Generally, lighting duration, I do 6 to 10 hours. Again, it depends on the tank, what I have in the tank. Some tanks run for you know, if I've got very little plants in there, I might just turn it on to look at it, a little while. I do have all my tanks on timers because consistency, especially with lighting, is crucial. Um, Plants have metabolisms and like to be awake and grow just like, people do. They go to sleep at night. You'll notice some of your plants will close up. They're not going to be using light at that time. So there's not, unless you're watching the tank, I wouldn't have the light on.
Mhm.
Generally, if you have lower lighting, it's not exactly this way, but you can have a longer duration. And if you have a higher lighting, you'll do a little bit of a lower duration on your lighting.
Yeah, I currently with the new light, I set it at 6 hours, and so I'm just
Mhm.
watching to see how it does and make sure that I did not change the intensity of the light yet. I left it at whatever I think I may have set it at 70%. I actually need to look at that, but it was it it's set at 6 hours, and I'll watch it, and after a period of time, if things are still good, I'll bump it up a little bit. I currently have my lights coming on very late in the day so that I can enjoy the light when I'm home.
Mhm.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of times people think they have to turn it; it has to come up in the morning and go down at night, and that is going to create algae. Especially if you're not home looking at it, it's totally unnecessary. Um,
Oh yeah. I have my tank lights come on an hour before I get home, and then
mhm.
they cut off around when I go to bed.
That's
So
not far from what I have. The 75 comes on at 3, and then it goes off at 9. It went off earlier, and I had to turn it back on right before we got started. Um, so getting a little extra light tonight.
yeah, looks like Zenny and Silver Creek are talking about the refraction of light with water. If you've ever seen one of the Kessel lights with a tank that has a good bit of surface agitation, you can
Mhm.
actually see the shadows moving around, and that's that light refraction. It's
Mhm.
really cool, and you can get some great. One thing I think people don't do enough of is utilize light to create emotion and dramatic effect in a tank with a spotlight and create shadows
You
that
get
can.
that. I was just going to say you get that if you go to an aquarium, though. They set that up. I
Yes.
know I've noticed it at the Ripley's Aquarium up in Gatlinburg. There's this one tank where it's a huge tank, and the way they've got the light set up, you see that refraction all around you
Yeah,
as you're in that room.
it's very cool, and you can use that to your advantage. Watercolors Aquarium Gallery has a podcast on aquarium lighting, and they talk about using, you know, one part of the tank has that spotlight light on it, and the fish will actually hide, stay in the darker areas at some points during the day, and then come out and flash in that
Mm.
spotlight. And it creates some more natural behaviors
Hmm.
because in nature you're going to have shadowy areas. It's the sun doesn't light everything equally. It's more
Yeah.
spotlights in a way.
Amisa says that they are looking to add those orange Venezuelan quarries to a tank,
Ooh,
and I've got some competition. I hope
you
you win them.
do.
I hope you win them. If I don't,
That's why you use a refractometer. If you do you have that second slide
I do. Let me
up
get over
there?
there.
Cool. Yeah, if you don't mind. Oh, light measurement should have been on that earlier,
So
but
that's the only
that's
two I have.
okay. So that picture right there, if y'all can see that, that is a par meter, and that is one of the guys from 2 Hour Aquarist measuring par. But this little lighting chart table kind of shows you low, medium, and highlight designations that have been put, kind of not necessarily standardized in the hobby, but kind of to give you some metrics. If you're looking online and say your light has some par values listed, and you're wanting to get that really highlight plant, and you're checking, and it works. So that's a good easy way to check and see if you can grow some of those plants. Let's see.
I'm looking through the chat. Sorry.
Yeah, I sort of was too. Yeah, Nano Aquarium guy has a great comment. You can also have two spotlights and set timers to create different lighting for
Yeah.
different times of the day. That's whenever I do the botanical tank, I'm planning on doing a pendant light, which is basically instead of the lighting being, all the way spread out across the tank, it's a point source. So it spreads out like that, and you can get some really cool lighting effects with that.
Yeah.
We've got
Uh,
Salient Aquatics.
yeah. Amisa says Fan was saying you should keep the late maturing males because they usually are bigger, and that is definitely the case. You do want to pull them out and separate them and use them in your breeding program because they will be the larger males. The male that I started off with these swordtails is very small. Now he's very bright. He's got some beautiful coloration, but he's like half the size of the other male. All right. Selling Green Aquatics is saying you can get those clip-on spotlights at Lowe's for cheap, but put Lee lights in them. I don't know what Lee lights are. LED lights. Is he saying LED? They're saying LED lights. Um,
Gina's Reef says, "Oh, look at those cute freshwater par readings." Yes, the reef lighting is an entirely different game.
yep.
A whole different world, but a very fun world nonetheless. I think when I move, I've been debating on potentially trying to set up a little reef tank. One of the guys at the local stores is every time I go in there, he's like, "Hey, I know you can grow some plants. You can grow some corals." And I'm like, "Man, if I do that, I'm gonna get sucked into it."
Yeah, yeah. It it's tempting. This last, I don't know. It's not tempting for me. I like the plant thing, but I know a lot of people really like it, and who knows? One of these days, maybe. Um, you start in the sand at 80 par.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to the stream, Gina.
Nancy says Gina coming in salty. I'm loving the puns in the chat tonight. Y'all are cracking me up.
Yep. As far as, one thing that I've seen recently people talking about is the height of which they're going to put their light over their tank. And I don't, it's kind of confusing to me. Like, is there a benefit other than spread to raising because you're lowering the amount of light that hits lower in the
Right.
tank? But do people do that to create more spread on their tank?
Yeah, to get more spread, and also if you have a light that you can't adjust, or a real powerful light that say, "Oh, I'm down at 15%. I can't really go any lower."
Yeah.
Raise the light. That's probably the biggest thing. I like to have my lights closer to the tank just because I have most tanks sitting at eye level of when I'm sitting down, and I don't want the light to kind of shine down at me.
I will say this for the co-op light, and it's my current experience. So that's why I keep bringing it up. There's no other reason. I don't have an affiliate link to give you. One thing that I really like about it was a point of contention for me on my night crew light. That tank sits up higher than I will sit in that room. When I'm sitting on the couch, I'm lower, and there was a lot of light spilling over at the top, and that would often bug me. The co-op light sits so low that I don't get that at all now. So I really like that about the light.
That is good. I like that. That's how I do all my lights. I have the one Chihiros that I have, which is my high-end light. I bought the light reflector shades for it to keep it down, and that made a huge difference.
Yeah. Amisa was 15 minutes behind. Flux capacitor was not calibrated.
But lighting is definitely lighting is definitely a massive, massive topic that we cannot fully cover, especially in this one, third attempt episode. So if you are interested in learning more about lighting, some great resources that I have used are Tom Barr with the Barr Report, 2 Hour Aquarist, Green Aqua, and George Farmer has also some great resources and tips on lighting. More so, all of this is particular to planted aquariums. So sorry,
Always.
Gina.
Yeah, we don't know anything about what you need on those salt tanks. But yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. And, I said this, I think last week, and it's something I've been telling people online. Definitely look for those resources that are always around, because that's where you're going to get better information. Don't listen to someone that you don't know on a forum who, is just sharing from their experience as if it's the only way to do something.
Yes.
Definitely look at the people who've been around a while, have built a reputation, and they're willing to stand behind what they say. And we will attempt to stand behind what we say over here, but we do want to always, let people know that it's just based on our own experiences and what we've looked into. And it's like, talking about the T-bulbs, it's been a very long time since I've had any T-bulbs. So I don't know how they would even compare to the LEDs that I currently have. I just know that you don't come across them nearly as much, and the wattage is very different. And I know the LED prices have really come down there. So those experiences are all any of us in the hobby can talk about. Now, some have more experiences than others, obviously, so they can talk from that. But thank you to everyone who made it out. If you have any lighting questions that you'd like for us to dive into, definitely leave them in the comments. We'd love to dive into that a little bit more. We haven't decided on what the next topic will be, and we will be here next week, and then we'll take a week off. So we're here next week, and then a week off following that. And but yeah, definitely comments. If you would like this live stream, be on the lookout for some videos. I got to get those out before June gets going on me.
And if there's a topic you want to see covered, put it in the chat, leave a comment. If we have experience with it, we'll try and talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. So that's going to be it. Thank you, everyone who's been in the chat. It's been fun conversation. And thank you to everyone who added to things in the chat. And for all of you lurkers, I was a lurker for a number of years on these shows. So thank you for listening. Those of you who are watching the replay or listening to the replay on your drive to work, understand you don't want to watch this mug talk. That's why I try to put the tank up as often as possible. But thank you for listening. And hope everyone has a good evening. I don't believe Eric's going live tonight, so I can't send you there. Check out fishfam.link and see what may be available. Maybe somebody will go live, and that's one of the great things about that resource is you see someone go live, you can use that to get to their channel. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you. Hope you're enjoying your tanks.
Yep. Bye, everybody.